Thank you, Lars Hendrik. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bernie Mentor. I'm president of International at Bank of America. And it's been a great privilege and a pleasure and an honor to really partner up and collaborate with Lars Hendrik and Jörg and ESMT, again, to deliver this really spectacular dialogue. Really integral to the success has been really the caliber and the diversity of the speakers, the moderators, and the guests. Thank you, Mr. President, for joining us today. It was kind of you to give us your time, and that was a specific conversation we just heard. So thank you very much, everybody. We at Bank of America decided to collaborate with ESMT because we recognize the importance of the real dialogue that Lars Hendrik was thinking through, and there's a scarcity of that dialogue today. And in the past 2 days, I think we've seen what makes this event really unique. There's business leaders and politicians from Asia, from the subcontinent in India, from Africa, from the US, and from Europe as well, and all the perspectives have been really terrific. And this is very precious. I think as a global firm, we recognize the breadth and the pace of the change that the President referred to, and we see a real fierce urgency around the world around that change. And I think it's right that the President's addressed us in Europe and addressed the world about that changing world and how we should adapt to it and to think through a new framework around that. And I think listening to that today and listening through the dialogues of the last 2 days, we're starting to have some sense of a framework as to what the new world order might look like and realize in itself. Anyway, so thank you, Lars Hendrik. I wanted to thank your team. It's really been a terrific thing putting this together. It's not a joke. And I'm sure from tomorrow, you're probably starting to think about next year's. So thank you. And it's been, as I say, an honor partnering up with you and ESMT. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I will not give a long speech. I want to thank again Emmanuel, and I want to thank Bernie for supporting us. I think it was very interesting what you were saying in terms of Europe. We had a long discussion for 2 days as well, hitting many of the themes you were hitting. And I think one of the themes which I think we were discussing is that the role of geopolitics and how that affects everything. I think it also resonates in your remarks. And what is the role of business in terms of responding to that? And also geopolitics also makes the economics change. So the relative power and relative performance of the world is changing. We have lots of guests here from China, India, Latin America. So I think this was the theme of the conference. And I think there's sort of two solutions which you can do. One is you can try to, as you say, level the playing field, I guess, but also, I think, keep things open. I think for talent and for ideas, I know that you also agree with that. I think that was also important. On trade, we had different views in terms of some of them trying to preserve a little bit the old system and some of them thinking about the new system. But I think in terms of talent and ideas, also a strength also of a democracy, by the way, is this ability to keep things open. I think that was a theme which resonated in the business community, I think in many places. Also in industrial policy, I'm losing my voice, sorry, after 2 days. In industrial policy, again, we had a discussion on that, which is essentially this tension between, call it level playing field or sovereignty and independence from others. And at the same time, keep in mind the effect it has on others, because the Inflation Reduction Act obviously has an effect also on others. So I think coordinating that is very important. I think your point about having a true is the wrong word, but having more of an EU approach to industrial policy. I know you've been working on that for years in trade, in defense issues and technology issues. You mentioned that also in the AI round, that if we don't do anything, we're on a best way of fragmenting the AI market in Europe. I think having a European approach, thank you very much, having a Euro approach to industrial policy, I think this is something which is very important. And the final theme, I think, which was there is sort of what is the role of business in all of that. And I think also listening to some people from around the world, there are some countries where business and governments work together very well. Also in this country, there's a debate as to whether we're doing that, Gerhard, very well. We had a session on the first day on this role of nationalism, populism, which I mentioned earlier. What's the role of business? What can they do to basically make that work. So, I think the government has an important role in all of that, but I think business also has to be a player in that and be willing to engage in all of that. And I think this is a theme which also comes out of it. So I think those were some of and we had lots of interesting sessions, but I think one thing was clear, and this is what I want to finish, and that's why I started this Berlin Global Dialogue, because I was in the G20, and I always thought we have global issues. We also have European issues, but like climate is a global issue, that we need to work together and we need dialogue and we need to talk more about that and build common ground. The theme of this conference, Emmanuel, Mr. President, was building common ground. So let's work on things where we can agree on. It's a very pragmatic approach, and let's not spend too much time on things where we can't agree on. Sometimes that's difficult because these things which you can't agree on are very important, but I think it's a pragmatic way forward. Let's get the things done which we can work on. So building and not finding, but building, actively shaping common ground. I think that was the important theme, and we're trying to use this conference also to identify important themes where common ground can be identified between business and politics, and we'll send you the results of the conference afterwards. And we'll also continue doing that. I truly believe in that. Global issues, common ground, working together rather than fragmenting, which I think is happening. As you said also, I think if we can add something to that, I think we'll be very happy. And this conference will also do things during the year, and we'll try to push this theme, building common grounds, finding solutions, at the global level. I think this is something very important, knowing very well that you're in a much better position to do this, obviously, than we are, but we can all contribute to that agenda. I think that's very important. So that's the thing. This is what we're going to keep developing. I think it was a very successful second one. It was only the second one that we've done this. So the first one was last year, second one was this year. We'll do this again if Bernie allows. Next year, again, pretty much at the same time. And I'm looking forward to that. I want to also thank my team, and that's Carolyn and Jenny, who are the managing directors. Let's give them an applause. I remembered your name this time. That was last time I forgot her name at the end. And I also thank ESMT and Jörg Rocholl, who is not here right now, for supporting us. This is very nice. So that concludes it. Thank you very much. Have a safe travel back. And we'll see you next year. And now I think we should all sit down and stay seated because the president will leave. And then there's a barbecue outside. Not for you. But for everybody else. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. And see you next year. Thank you.